remember your first date? The excitement, the anticipation. Maybe it went well, and maybe it went badly. But either way, you probably remember it. So what would it be like if you were dating a hosting company? In fact, what would a hosting company who wanted to take you on a date put in their advert? Most hosting companies are seeking SMBs. But you'd probably certainly need a sense of humor if you were going to enjoy that first date. So we've got a couple of first date tips for you, and secret number one is onboarding new customers is like a first date. So when you think back to your first date, one of the things you probably remember is the uncertainty, the not knowing. Will this be the start of something beautiful, or will you never see each other again? Do you have that special thing that each other are seeking? Or is it going to get complicated? There are just so many things we don't know in that first encounter. So here's tip number one. You need to show that you want more than a one-domain stand. You are better than this. It's very tempting to go with the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, satisfaction of a single domain sale. But really, is that all you want? Tip number two, get the site builder right up front. Talk site builder early. Site builders do best close to the domain. Separating these two things in time in the user's journey greatly diminishes the performance of both. So how else can you avoid tears? How else can you avoid a really bad end to a first date? The key thing is, don't let that first date end with an unresolved domain. A poor, unresolved, unloved domain is unlikely to be renewed and offers very little chance for upsell all by itself. What else can you do to improve your chances? Well, some people think there's only one way. There's only one way to do that first date. But we think there are many ways. There are many different ways that this can turn out really well. So a domain-led onboarding flow takes the customer through domain purchase and through the creation and publication of a website all in one step. The free trial is something we're all familiar with. Usually it's time limited, sometimes it's feature limited. And buy now, where the customer just comes right up to the website, purchases the site builder, and maybe purchases a domain subsequently, is a third flow. All three of these can work really well, and they're not mutually exclusive. You can do all of these and make them work for you. Many of our partners have great success running all of these flows simultaneously. So what's the ideal happy ending? How do we really want this to turn out? Well, what we want is to get through all of the key steps: domain, content, design, and publish. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely that's a bit far to go on a first date. But no, you can get there. I've shown it to you on a phone here, because I can't think of any good reason why you wouldn't want phone visitors, tablet visitors, any kind of visitor to be able to complete this process. Onboarding should work on a phone. Site editing should work on a phone. Publishing should work on a phone. It should just work. And if a customer who's just bought a domain from you is in the mood and still hot, then yes, they should be able to go right on and finish the deal right now. Not everyone will want to go this far, but many will. So that takes us to secret number 2. And secret number 2 is about kittens. Really, it's not just for kittens. Facebook is where small business content goes first. Startup businesses start their content here. This nearly always precedes a domain purchase now. So our onboarding flow needs to take this into account. Our website builder needs to take this into account. We know where the content is. The content runs to Facebook for the same reason water runs to the sea. It's the easiest place for it to go. We care about the content because where small business content goes is ultimately where our small businesses' customers go and where we need to pick them up if they're going to come to us. So small businesses, micro businesses, startups, whatever you want to call them, they start communicating their message from whatever tools they have at hand. That's usually a phone, and it's usually via the social media platforms they're familiar with. And this goes really well. It's got zero learning curve. Anyone can play. But then at some point, they have to face a problem. Their content is pooling on Facebook, but their customers are searching elsewhere. We end up with 2 different universes. One where it's easy to put content, one where it's easy to find it. A domain and a website is, as we all know, the way to bridge this gap. But making it easy for a startup business to get from the left to the right is a challenge. So we can say that onboarding, if you want small business customers, should be social. They should be able to bring their social content with them. And we also know that social is mostly mobile. Most people, most of the time, use mobile devices for all of their social media needs, or at least a fair part of them. So it follows that we need to be social and mobile to have a really good onboarding flow. So this brings us to secret number 3. It's really very important to keep young and beautiful. Now, our site builder's good, but it can't make you younger or more beautiful. The young and beautiful I'm talking about is your onboarding flow. If the way you're onboarding people hasn't changed in the last 18 months, it's not young, and chances are it's not beautiful. We all know how quickly things change. And when we look at onboarding flows and site builders and domain purchase, it's tempting to think on some hosting platforms that time has stood still. It's still complex. It still involves a lot of tricky questions. It's still really hard for a customer to get where they're intending to go. So it's a truism that old stuff tends to have more buttons than new stuff. Now, why do we care about that? Well, every extra button, every extra little thing is an extra step on the learning curve. And however you feel about small business customers, one thing you can be certain of is that they are very, very busy people. They don't come to learn. They're not interested in learning product. They're interested in getting results. So new things have less buttons than old things. So, if this is true of stereos, and it's true of digital watches, what else might it be true of? So how can we tell the age of a site builder? Come with me on a journey for a moment and assume that new site builders are probably better than old site builders. But how can we tell? Well, we can count the buttons. Very simple. So here's something I'd like you to do for me. There are many fine site builders that you can visit here in the show. Excuse me. There are many fine site builders you can visit here at the show, and I do hope you'll visit all of them, and of course that you'll come and visit our stand too. But when you visit them, count the buttons. Count the buttons on the screens where the site building actually gets done. I'd be delighted if you'd come and tell me your button counts. Now, I don't know who's got most. I suspect I know who's got least, but I'd really like to find out. We care about this because if it isn't simple, it isn't going to work. You can't be too simple. It's impossible. And you can't be too mobile either. It's impossible to think of a reason why small business software shouldn't be as ubiquitous as social software. It should work on your browser, it should work just wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And much of the change that small business has gone through in recent times is about being able to use technology that wasn't mobile, that wasn't simple. Now it is. So end-to-end mobile is inevitable. There's really no other way that this is going to work in future. I'm not suggesting everybody, every time, will want to use a phone or a tablet. I am suggesting that all of your onboarding flows, all of the applications you offer that are aimed at small businesses will need to work everywhere. And so you face a number of challenges. Either you can trust in your vendors to develop lots of separate apps, each of which works on a separate device and is available through an app store in a different market, or you can work with products that just work in the browser. As long as the experience is good, and we can show you that it can be, there's absolutely no advantage to taking the app route. In fact, there are many disadvantages, particularly for your customers. So end-to-end mobile is inevitable. We can't go around it. We can put it off for a little while, but not long. So to summarize, onboarding is like a first date. If it's going to turn out well, then you need to show that you want more than just a domain, that there's more to you than that. A domain attached to a site is the perfect ending for a first date. Facebook really isn't just for kittens. If you're ignoring it, if you're hoping it will go away, you're wrong. It's where your SMB customers start. And last, keep young and beautiful. Keep that onboarding flow fresh. Keep your site building software even fresher. And don't forget, come to our stand and tell me about the button counts. Thank you.